or video off, you know, feel free. It's all good. Second thing is thank you for muting. What we'll be doing is we'll be using the chat box for questions. Shauna and I will be fielding as many questions as we can, but a lot of the knowledge for some of the things that are going on out there come from you guys. So we're also hoping that you'll be able to share your expertise with your colleagues at this time, both in the chat box as well as potentially even showing, doing a presentation from your screen as well, if there's specific questions about big ideas, for example. We do want to promote also the Ed Tech hours that happen every day from 10 to 11. And I'm going to go ahead and pop on the presentation of my screen here. Window, here we go. And can you see my screen now?
No.
No? Let me see, I'm choosing this one. Oh, okay, that one. Okay, how about now?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, great. So this is on the e-learning website. These are all of the PDs that are happening this week. So if you want some Google Classroom basics, you can join these PDs. A lot of different things happening over the course of the week. So I do want to encourage you guys to check this out. In addition, we do have a page that has resources for math teachers running from elementary all the way through high school. There's step-by-step videos, there's quick start guides, there's just lots of worthwhile stuff to check out here. So in case we can't answer your questions regarding potentially big ideas, there might be some information here as well for you. What else? Oh, I do want to point out that you guys, I think you guys got the UTR communication regarding phase 2 of e-learning. It's a pretty good document. It kind of covers some of the things for theory of action regarding this type of extended distance learning. And it's a worthwhile document to check out and read. It's got some good stuff here: personalizing asynchronous opportunities, mastery, deeper learning, as well as just some good things to keep in mind as you're thinking about your online lessons. I do want to appreciate all the work that you guys are all doing here in experimenting with this new platform that we're jumping into. Everybody's at different levels, and we want you to not freak out too much, but just kind of work towards something that you're comfortable with, and your colleagues will be able to help you out as well as central office. I do want to show a couple little things regarding the survey that we sent out and for secondary. And so here's the delivery of instruction. About 50% of those that responded were using Khan Academy. Google Classroom for delivery, so almost, it's about 80%. Zoom is being used a lot. I see some YouTube happening as well. It seems like teachers are putting maybe their little mini lessons onto YouTube. I know a few teachers that are doing that. Communication for secondary. Almost everybody's using Google Classroom, but in addition using Zoom and Remind, among a few others. And participation, currently, this is kind of the breakdown. A little bit low in secondary, but I think that this will probably build up as teachers get more comfortable with the platform, and that there's a little more communication between site and home as well, which is in the works. So so I just wanted to share that with you guys before we jump on in. And that being said, let me see if I can stop presenting. There I go. Okay. And thank you, Tracy, for putting up that link as well for teachers. And we're ready to field questions.
Mark, hello. This is John.
Hi, John. How are you?
Oh, good. Mark, which professional development would be best for Google Classroom?
Good question. So, have you checked out the calendar that we have set up for this week?
Yes, I'm looking at it right now.
No,
and
I'm giving, hi, John, this is Lori.
Hi,
Robert.
Lori.
Hi, I just gave a basics training this morning, and tomorrow's going to be a continuation.
Yeah.
But if you, unfortunately, someone stopped my recording on that one, but I do have materials that I'll be putting online
Okay.
for this first session that I did today.
Yeah.
And if there's enough people who want to do it, then I'll do the first session again. But tomorrow I am going to be kind of continuing. So do you already have Google Classroom?
I suppose I do. I just don't know where it is. Or Google is one thing that confuses me, so I ignore it because I've actually got a system set up with email. But the issue with email is I don't have everybody's email address. There's like 7 or 8 kids who aren't getting the message.
Right. Okay.
And I think, everybody's using Google Classroom, so I want to post my information there as well. So it's probably just the very basics that I need. So if there's a link to something that could help me get going on that, that would be great as well.
Yeah, I haven't put it up yet, but I'm going to be putting it up later today. So it's going to be on the e-learning site under professional learning.
Okay.
And also, I just want to say that math is something that confuses me, so I just ignore it.
Okay. Hey, we're used to that.
Yeah, Laurie's got a lot of good resources for Google Classroom stuff, and like she mentioned on the e-learning page, you can find some startup stuff. So,
Thank you, Mark.
yep. So it's probably going to be a small crew since it's just middle school math, but welcome all of you who are joining. I did invite the 6th grade teachers at elementaries as well, for those that may be using big ideas in elementary. So welcome everyone. We are fielding questions, and again, as I was mentioning before some of you showed up, we may not have all the answers, but we'll see what we can field. And those of you that are using the chat to ask questions, we'll be looking at the chat, and potentially some of you might be able to answer as well. If you have an opportunity to present your screen to explain to some people how to use big ideas in different ways online, that would be great as well. Shauna, I'm going to start typing up the office hour notes. So I'm going to let you. Take the lead here.
One moment, please, while I turn my sign around.
Meredith, that was our problem of the day. We wanted you to figure out what the message was saying. Victoria, it's a good question regarding your RSP students and big ideas. I was reading that some teachers are using big ideas and that some RSP students are really glomming onto it, and they really like the explanations. The question is whether they have actually done the platform yet at all, either with you or with your with the teacher that they have, the regular ed teacher. So there might be something to check in with the teacher to see what whether they've been on and how they can best use it.
Hey, Shauna or Mark, if there's anything, this is a good time to show people something that maybe they might need to know to help them along. Because sometimes we found that when people come to our office hours, they actually don't have a question yet. But once we start kind of showing them things, then suddenly their questions come up.
Yep. Thank you.
I have a question about how writing appears, because I guess, Shauna, you were saying that I can see if I put my, say, instructions there, does that appear? Can you read that, or how does that appear? I'm just wondering how communication is going to be.
It's focusing in.
Can you read that? Is it possible?
Yes, I can. Yes,
It is
I
possible.
can.
Okay, that's good
Yes,
to know.
so we
Okay.
don't have to flip things around, as I just
All right.
found out.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to share really quickly, though, that in Google Hangouts Meet, it's standard definition. It's not high def. So, I mean, I know you were just asking a question about whether or not things are flipped, but I just want to share that, if you're trying to use this to have kids show you their work, there would probably be better ways of doing that via Google Classroom. And then that way they don't have to be there with you.
I know this is a techie question, but how are people sharing, or how are people having students to turn in their work?
Teachers, would you like to field that?
Well, for me, what I would do is give maybe 2 big ideas sections a week. And I would differentiate that because you can assign different problems for different students. You can do easy, medium, or advanced, or other combinations as well. And during the regular school year, that's really time consuming to do that, but we have the time to do that, and that's what I plan to do, because some of the big ideas problems are really challenging. The only issue that comes up with that is on the assessment end, because the quizzes and the tests include those difficult problems as well. So there has to be some way of juggling that, because it's really not fair to give the kid the easy problems on their regular work assignment and then slam them with things that are tough on the quizzes and the tests. I guess
I haven't been using the Big Ideas platform because then students need to show me their work, and they can very easily go to any other platform. They can use Visual Math. They can even ask Siri how to get to the answer. And so Big Ideas just wants you to put in an answer. I want to see their work. And so what has happened so far, I've had some students hold their papers up to their camera. And for some students, I can see what they've done. And then there's a parent that was using something called a Skinny Scanner. That's an app for a phone, but that worked pretty good too. So Um, and then there's fill in Google Docs, but I don't want students to have to type in fractions and type in math equations and stuff. So I'm just looking for other options other than that camera, take a picture with their camera, because that doesn't always work.
Are they doing
What
are they doing this through Google Classroom, or is it a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, it's Google Classroom. I haven't tried Zoom meetings yet. That is my challenge for this week, to have office hours. I just want to know what I'm doing. And so far, I don't always, so.
Yeah. And I think one issue is that we're going to have to coordinate our office hours in secondary with the other departments as well. So maybe the administrator could do that, because we can't schedule our Zoom conferences, if we do that, to conflict with English, history, or math, or PE, or elective as well. So there might be some scheduling issues here possibly.
Yeah, we've got at our school, we've got a Google Sheet happening that teachers can enter in when they're having office hours or when they're meeting online at all, so that we're not overlapping. That works pretty good.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Victoria has a question. She's an elementary RSP teacher. How can she best support her sixth graders with their big ideas? Okay. Any ideas as to how she could do this online would be great. Victoria, one of the things that Jackie mentioned was setting up and John setting up office hours on Zoom, and you could do that and have your kids access it and have discussions with them that way. Anyone else have a recommendation for Victoria?
I've just been emailing instructions for each of the big ideas sections to the parents. And because it's not really credited, I'm letting the few kids who are actually doing it work at their own pace. But obviously that's going to be different after the 13th. And one issue I'm wondering how to deal with, I've had, maybe 10 kids work through chapter 6. But chapter 6 is an important problem because it's percents. And I think I'm going to have to repeat it again starting on April 13th. But I think I'll go through it fairly quickly and maybe just focus on the basics and then get everybody together in a week or so, maybe by April 20th.
I think the great opportunity we have now with distance learning is that students are going to be learning at their own pace as well. It's really set up for that. And so, as we're building our lessons from week to week, students that may fall behind, at least they're you can always check in with students that are falling behind, either through office hours or calling home. But it's a great opportunity for students to be learning at different paces. So I appreciate you, John, bringing that up. As far as the students and checking in with supporting some RSP kids, yeah, really through a Zoom would be super fun and interactive. I think it's a great opportunity to touch base, and it's always good to see people's faces as well.
Okay. Rachel asked if we're going to go over Khan Academy. We have some links to Khan Academy on the distance learning site under math. And let's see. So if you go there, because a lot of people are using Khan Academy, you'll find a Khan Academy quick start guide and a couple of other things that will lead you to it. I know that a lot of teachers are using Khan Academy, especially a lot of secondary teachers to deliver instruction.
What I'm wondering for Rachel is, have you already checked out Khan Academy through Clever? Because the kids are already rostered, so it's ready to go. Just kind of wondering what in particular you might have questions on that either we or others on this call might be able to answer. My personal experience with Khan Academy, I used it a couple of years ago with a geometry class that I was teaching, and I gave them, I think it was called a mission, and it was just kind of, it was again self-paced. Students were working on it on their own. So that's one option that you can use for Khan Academy. There's a couple of very cool videos that have been webinars that have been saved that are on the Math Teacher resource page that I showed earlier that's on the e-learning site. And they talk a little bit about the different ways that you can use Khan, not only for teaching current content, but for remediation as well. And again, I think this is a great opportunity for self-paced learning. And in middle school, we're always looking for ways to help reach out to students who have those unfinished learning. And this is a great time to be able to give them an opportunity to catch up on some of those. And Khan, I think, is a great way to do it.
Okay.
Rachel, I've linked the document on the chat for you. Miss C, great question regarding Khan Academy. I never assigned a test on Khan, so I'm not sure how that works out. Does anybody have a response to Miss C's question on can they see their scores and the problems they missed? Thanks, Chris. If somebody has access to a sample on a Khan Academy screen to present, that would be great as well this time.
Just making sure we've gone through all the questions.
I would be curious to know out there, those of you who are using Big Ideas, is there any other selling points for you and how things are working on the Big Ideas platform, the facility of assigning lessons? John, you mentioned differentiation opportunities. We'd love to hear about your experiences with the Big Ideas platform. You just have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there it goes. Okay. Big idea. Ties yourself. So if you get a kid that's all of a sudden getting 100 after 100 after 100, there's an issue there. Now, it may not be as big an issue when the kids are, fragmented in their own apartment than when they're all together in the classroom, but that's something to be aware of. So work integrity is a constant issue with big ideas. So that's a red light to be aware of. So that's one thing. And also sometimes the problems as presented on the big ideas, online assignments are a little different than what's in the textbook. So it's always a good idea to take a look to see how the problems are being formatted and presented to the students. Those are things to look out for, I guess.
Could I jump in here a little bit?
Hi, Chris.
Hey, how you doing? I made it back.
Right.
I just wanted to comment a little bit on what John said about work integrity, and I really see that as being one of the biggest challenges that we have as teachers of mathematics at this time, because it's going to be hard. We don't have the student contact to really check in with their understanding. And I'm late to the meeting, so maybe you already covered this, but I would encourage teachers, if you feel comfortable, to take a look at some of the different platforms like Zoom, like Flipgrid or Seesaw, using your Google Classroom in some way where students can explain their work. And some of those platforms, students could make a short video very easily, and they could hold up their paper and say, here's how I did this. I followed these steps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something that is fun for teachers potentially to take a look at, but also allows them to explain their thinking and for you to kind of interrogate any kind of misconceptions they might have.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, what would it look like if you asked students to turn in a little 30-second video of themselves explaining a problem, as opposed to just saying that the answer is 6? That's kind of what we want them to do anyway, right? To be able to dig into their thinking, and for us as teachers to be able to really understand what their thinking is. So thank you.
I think that works fine for a small number of students. But if I've got 10 students in each class, then I've got to look at 50 videos.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there are 30 students in each class. So, I mean, the 10 students that are doing their work from each class, of course, they're going to send theirs in. So it multiplies. That would be great for a small number.
Yep, definitely our challenge, right, with our 150 charges that we have. Yeah. Other options as well is written explanations that they can take a picture of and send as well. It's just something that gives us a feel, and just any sort of formative assessment we do. Sometimes we don't get to cover every single child's needs at the time, but it gives us a gauge as well as to how students are doing on these problems.
Have Mark or Shauna, have you had a chance to cover any kind of live formats, like using Zoom to do a live class? Have you talked about that at all?
We did talk a little bit about it, and being able to use Zoom for splitting up into groups. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, and looks like Ms. C just posted something on a chat as well. But yeah, if you use Zoom, and you have to have a Zoom account to do this so that you can change your settings, but you can very simply split your classes into groups. Groups of 4, I think, is the default. And it does it automatically. You just press a button called breakout groups, and it splits groups up. And then you can drag and drop those students If you want to change a group, if you see, oh, this kid can't be with this kid, we better switch them. You just drag and drop. It's actually really simple. I was impressed with it, to be honest. So that's one way to address, to do some formative assessment with, 30 kids or 20 kids or however many kids that you can get to join your Zoom meeting. But that's a format. Again, if you feel comfortable checking that out, it's, another thing you have to look at and learn, and that can be stressful and a lot of work. But if you feel comfortable, I would definitely take a look at Zoom as a way to manage your classroom live. This would be live meetings. So not asynchronous instruction, but live meetings. In the case of having 5 classes of 30 kids, that's one strategy.
Cool. Great. Thank you. So we're at 11:30. We'll at this time we'll be shutting things down a little bit, but we'll leave things open for a little bit longer if you have additional questions. I do really appreciate you guys coming and checking things out and asking questions. We do want to point out that we're going to have another touch base on Thursday, and this will be 6 through 12. So you're welcome to join us then. And if you have additional questions, or if you've tried something out that you've learned about here, you might be able to share your experiences with others during that time. Any final thoughts or words? I do, again, appreciate you guys doing all the work and all the learning that's happening right now. It's pretty tremendous. Some of the data that I was showing earlier in the presentation shows that you guys are really just making things happen and learning a ton. So, just see if you can set yourself a routine for you and your kids. That's super important. As well as trying out new things. And again, mistakes are valuable. It's one of our positive math mindset norms. So we do want to encourage you to try things out. We'll fall on our face, but we'll get up and we'll try it again, and we'll try different things in different ways. So thanks so much, you guys, for continuing your work as we jump into this new experience together. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, John. Thanks, Lucia. Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Evangeline. Right on, Miss C. Thank you, Miss Raja Singh. All right, you guys. Coaches, if you want to do a quick touch base, we can use the same Hangouts meet that I sent earlier if you want to do a debrief. I'll be there in a minute.
Okay.
Cool. Stopping recording. Boop.